Darryl Davis back again for part 2 of GMS's production of Cabaret. Remember, we were looking at the 1986 production and comparing it with that in 2004. We left off with Herr Schultz and Frau Schneider talking about getting married. Well, they have an engagement party. We see that some of the guests there are coming in with swastikas on their arms, and the show starts to get darker from this period on. Now, a very tipsy Schultz sings a song called Mieskeit, which is Yiddish for an ugly person. This song actually condemns prejudice. And remember, now prejudice starts to weave its way in because the Nazis used prejudice as a weapon. The Nazi sympathizers at the party start to take an instant dislike of Herr Schultz. A very spiteful Fräulein Kost tells Ernst Ludwig there, who's got the swastika on, that Herr Schultz is a Jew. And things become very, very dark from then on. Ernst actually goes up to Fräulein Schneider and says, "You are making a big mistake getting engaged to this Jew." Fräulein Kost now leads the partygoers into, I think, the best song in the show, "Tomorrow Belongs to Me." It's a really powerful song. And in 2004, the director used that song and it became a reprise. And he had children sing it, much like, in a way, like the film did, where there's a lone German Hitler Youth boy that's singing the song, and then the shot opens and we see lots of people joining into it. I really felt that this was a very stirring scene when they did this. It gave me chills, to be honest, to see it. And I'll show you the second slide here. This is when they had some of the soloists, and they're singing this, "Tomorrow belongs to me. Oh, fatherland, fatherland, show us a sign." It's a really determined song indeed. This becomes Act 2, and they have the girls in the Kit Kat Club are doing a little revolve, a little march, and they're joined by the MC who's dressed in drag. And this movement, this marching, turns into a goose step. That was, remember, how the Nazis used to march. And so we're seeing in the Kit Kat Club, we're seeing that what's happening outside is now coming inside. And they are mirroring really what society is like inside that club. There he is, he's dancing with them, and that was a very powerful scene as well. Tragedy occurs when Herr Schultz's fruit shop, the window is smashed with a brick comes through it. Nazis are outside and trying to intimidate him. Now you have to remember, of course, that at that time, and we're talking 1932-33, Nazi stormtroopers, they were the brown shirts really. They were the ones who supported Hitler and got him into power, and they would intimidate people, especially Jews. You know, the Jews at that time, I mean, they lost, if they had a public job, they lost it. They lost their citizenship. That meant you could put them in prison and nobody could complain about it because they didn't belong to a country. And tragically, of course, afterwards, they lost their lives. So this show starts to mirror the ugliness of German life in that 1930s period. And that's why I think, apart from the music, it's such a powerful piece of, a powerful show. Now, Frau Schneider is so frightened by this that she calls off the wedding. She's terrified that she is now going to be a victim. And the Nazis actually made a law that a Jew could not marry a German. Well, what occurs there is Cliff is there on the, you can see Cliff on the left-hand side. He is very upset. And he says to her, "How can you do that?" And she said, "What would you do if you were me? I have no choice other than to do that." Well, the MC performs a song called "If You Could See Her Now." You'll see here both the 86 production on the left and the right-hand side is the 2004 production. Supposedly, they were trying to equate in this song how the Germans treated Jews. So, like here, they're guerrillas. Now, when this show was written, that's exactly what they did, and they put in some dialogue that actually pointed out that they were Jewish. The feedback from audience that saw the musical said, "This is not good." So they changed the lyrics. They changed a lot of that, and they tried to make it into a sort of a comedy thing so that you as an audience member would think Well, they're probably talking about Jews, but it wasn't so blatant in your face there. We now are back into the cabaret, and probably the best known song of the show is indeed Cabaret. And it's Tony Williams who played that role in 2004. Sally decides that she is going to have the abortion, and she does. And she goes back to the cabaret and sings this song. And I think what's amazing is that there's nothing joyful about this song when it's sung. Life is not a cabaret. This represents Sally's greatest defeat. And I think the fallacy was that life is anything but, in Germany at that time, a cabaret. And here is Julia Morris doing that same role, just to give you a contrast. Now, in the finale, we have a mixture of the two songs Willkommen and Cabaret with different words. And they take on a very sinister meaning. The MC strips off his coat to reveal that he's wearing a Jewish Star of David, a yellow star. And also, he is wearing a pink triangle, which means that he is homosexual. If you were in Germany at that time and you wore those, you were the ones that were sent to the camps and basically were not going to survive. And there's the characters at the end of the show. They're coming out, and they've all got a story to tell. The Hitler Youth kids on the left-hand side, they're talking about a new Germany. On the right-hand side is Kost and her Nazi sailor friend. And in the middle are those people that are going to be sent off to the camps. And it's a very somber ending to this show. The show ends with Clifford getting on board a train and leaving Berlin for good. And that's what happened with the guy that wrote the story. That's what happened to him, Christopher Isherwood. He got on that train for Berlin and he fled. I think he went to London after that. Cabaret really is a very powerful musical that really explores many issues and themes. Prejudice is one example that's found in that show, and perhaps a story that makes one think and hopefully reflect. Now, this is a production that I said does not have a happy ending. I mean, I can remember being on that last scene, going on the way to the camp and the lights fading down. People in the audience realize this is what's going to happen to these people. As Cliff is on the train and back to Paris from Berlin, he says the following: "There was a cabaret, and there was a master of ceremonies, and there was a city called Berlin, in a country called Germany, and it was the end of the world."